Well, it's so good to see all you guys today, whether you're here in Mechanicsville, at our Scottsville location, or watching online. I know so many of you, we're kind of ending the summer. You're back from summer trips and vacations and visits. And then we had Labor Day weekend. A lot of people are gone and traveling and visiting people for Labor Day. And so I start thinking, fall for us is like one of those times it's like the new year for us here at Atlee. It's kind of the end of a season and the start of the fall is kind of the start of our ministry season at Atlee. And usually I like to go back and recap kind of what my year was about, what I did, what I enjoyed. And so my wife and I were scrolling through pictures the other day of all the things that we've been doing recently. And it was just cool to see, all the things that happened this summer and all the things that happened earlier in the year. And one of the trips that we were reminded of that we took, which was such a great time together with our family, was earlier we went to Florida to visit my family, and they surprised the kids for Christmas and got them tickets to Legoland. Now, if you know anything about Legoland, it's like hitting the lottery for an adult for a child to go to Legoland. They are obsessed with Legos. And so to go to a place called Legoland where everything is built out of Legos is a dream come true for them. So we drove all the way down to Florida. We met my parents there, and my parents, surprised them. They opened up the tickets for Christmas, and then we were excited the next few days we were going to go to Legoland. Now, for me, I'm the spontaneous person in my family. I like adventure, I like fun, but I like very little planning involved. Now, my wife, who is the better half, is the planner of us and our family. And so she often will ask us questions to kind of get us thinking about certain things that we're about to be involved with. So as we're getting ready to go to Legoland, she goes, "So do you know where to go?" And I was like, "Well, I got a phone. It has GPS. We'll figure it out." She's like, "Well, what are we going to do while we're there?" And I'm like, "I have no idea. There's Legos everywhere. The kids have fun." She's like, "Did you figure out where to go and what to do, what the food is?" And I'm like, "I have no idea. I'm literally excited about getting this to Legoland." And the famous phrase that I'll use in moments like this is, "We'll figure it out." Anybody ever use that phrase in their marriage? Yeah, it's not a good phrase, all right? It never works out. So my wife begins to help me think through this and plan this with my family. And I start thinking about, what are we going to do while we're there and all these things. And so I remember there was a friend of mine that recently had gone to Legoland and had a good experience. And so I decided to give him a call the day before we're about to leave. And he's like, "Hey, man, I'm so glad you called. There's some things you really need to know. The rides have wait times, and here's certain ones for your kids that they'll enjoy. Here's where to go get the food, and make sure to download the app." And I was like, I didn't even know there was a Legoland app. So I download the app, I figure out where to go and what to do. And by the time we get there, I am so grateful that my wife asked those very imperative questions before we get there, because there was so much for us to figure out. But we did. We made it to the right places. We connected the dots between where we wanted to go for our kids and the experience that we wanted to have. And I was so glad somebody told me where to go and what to do. And here's a picture of our family experiencing it. There's smiles on our face because we had a great time and we asked the right questions and we figured out where to go. And our kids loved it. And now they're just begging us to go back. So we will probably be planning a trip back down there here soon to visit them because they just love it. It was so much fun. But it got me thinking, I know you're not here at church to learn more about Legoland. You came to learn more about God. And so today I got to thinking about the questions we often get as a church staff that people are wondering and curious about and trying to figure out how to connect the dots for their lives and their spiritual walk with God. Here's often the questions we get asked. This is a big one. How do I grow in my faith and relationship with God? It's a great question, right? A lot of people want to know, how do I grow in my relationship with God? Another one we often get is this: how do I get more connected to the church? How do I get involved here? How do I get connected? How do I get to know people? The next one is this: what are ways I can get involved? I don't want to just attend, I want to be involved. How do I get involved here? And then the last question is normally something like this that we ask ourselves everywhere: how do I get the most out of my experience? So if I'm going to take my time and energy to be involved in a church, how do I get the most out of my experience? That was the question I wanted to know going into Legoland. How do I make the most of our time here to get the most out of my experience? And see, I love questions like these because it can be a little overwhelming to go to new places and experience new things. And we want to know, how do the places that we are going to work? And so we decided to help you connect the dots over the next few weeks to get the most out of your experience here at Atlee. Because I want to be that guy on the other end of the phone to you to help you know what is the most important things to us as a church that you can get involved with to make the most of your experience here. And so over the next few weeks, we're going to do our best to go through some information about the church, about your faith journey, about how to grow in your faith, and how to be involved and get connected here at the church. And so it's going to be a great time over the next few weeks. And I hope you don't only learn these things, but that it helps you begin to take a next step in your spiritual journey and in your faith here at Atlee. For those who don't know me, my name is Trey. I'm one of the pastors here, and it's always an honor and privilege to be able to share and speak with you when I get the opportunity to. If this is your first time, thanks for being with us, and thank you for entrusting us with your church experience. And I hope today that you learn something or hear something that makes a difference in your life. During this series titled Connect, our goal is simple: to help you connect with people, help you connect with your purpose, help you connect to the place here as a church, and ultimately help you connect more to God. Because I believe all of us, if we learn how to do those things, it will make a dramatic difference in our lives and ultimately in our relationship with God. And so here at Atlee, we have 3 key ministry environments that we focus on, that we spend all of our time, energy, and effort pouring into to help you all grow in your faith. And here are those 3 experiences. The first one is our Sunday mornings. That's what you're involved with right now, whether it's attending here in person, watching online. We provide online services, in-person services for you to connect with God. And so we do these every Sunday, and we're going to talk more about that in the series of why we do those. The next big area that we focus on is a thing called small groups. And small groups are a way that we take a church our size and we really dig deep and get to know each other. And then the last one is serving teams. Serving teams are areas for us to serve and make a difference and use the gifts that we have in order to serve other people. The Bible teaches us that Jesus came to serve and not be served and give his life. And so we try to emulate that in our service to other people. And so those are the 3 things we're going to unpack over the next 3 weeks of how you can get involved in each of these and why they're important to your life and to your faith. And today we're going to jump right into one of my favorite ministries here at the church. It's one that we don't get to talk about often, but I feel like it's the one that packs the most punch. And you can get a lot out of this ministry area. And that ministry area is our small groups. Our small groups here at Atlee are designed for you, every single one of you, to find a group of people to do life with. You'll often hear us talk about, when we talk about small groups, this idea of moving from rows into circles. This idea of moving from rows into circles, which means you're sitting in a row right now, right? Like, look around you, you're in a row. Hopefully you like the people that you're sitting with. If not, you can choose a new seat next week, all right? Online, it's great. You don't have to worry about that. You get to pick who you're sitting next to. But that's the idea of rows. We meet here on Sundays, we meet in rows, but it doesn't just end there. We don't want your spiritual journey just to come to church, go back home, and hope everything works out in your life once you leave here. We also want you to connect with people in circles. And by that we mean is find a group of people that you meet with on a regular basis that you can do life together with. This concept we get from the Bible itself. When Jesus begins to tell people that he's about to die and then be resurrected, after that, after his death, burial, and resurrection here on earth, we see the early movement of the church starting to happen. And people often wonder, like, okay, where did the church come from? What is that all about? Well, in the book of Acts, in the New Testament of our Bible, we get to see the early concept of the church arise. We get to see groups of people starting to meet together, and they're waiting for Jesus to start this new movement of the church. And his Spirit is about to come. And when it comes, it then begins to help us understand what church looks like from the beginning origins to even today of why we meet together. And so in Acts 2, 42 through 47, it gives us an idea of what happens when we meet together in these circles, how we do life together, and what the Bible wants us to do in order for us to grow in our faith. So let's look at this passage together, and let's see what are some of the things that they did to help us understand what are some of the things that we should do. It says this: they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship and to breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. All the believers were together. Everybody say together. I want you to understand that they were all together and they had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in each other's homes, and together they ate with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And then the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. So we see in this passage that it wasn't just about meeting in rows, listening to somebody talk, going home, and figuring our faith out. There was this other concept that was as equally as important as meeting together. It was this idea of doing life in circles together. These people would meet together. They're eating together. They're praying together. They're checking in on each other. They're helping each other out. Where one has a need, somebody else jumps in to fulfill and help that need. And they're really getting to know each other and helping each other out with life's greatest hurdles and with life's greatest celebrations. It's during these times that they get to know each other. They eat, they talk, they laugh, they cry. They choose to be in the presence of other people. And it's there in these moments that create space for incredible things to happen and for them and us to grow in our faith and others with people. We use this phrase, going from rows to circles, to illustrate the idea that Sunday mornings are about meeting in rows. And while that's so important, it's equally as important to find a circle of people that you have the opportunity to catch up with and do life with. We get to hear each other's stories. We get to hear what's going on in our lives. We get to encourage each other and help each other. Things that happen around a circle help us understand what life is really all about. And it's simply this, that you and I were not created to do life alone. You and I were never created to do life alone. Now, this concept gets really difficult for us to understand, especially with what our society just experienced, right? Going through this COVID-19 pandemic and having to isolate and hang out, by yourself and, basically push everybody away 6 feet apart and all those things. And while we did those things and they were necessary for our health, the problem is that we started to do life that way. We started to believe that we didn't need people, that we could just be by ourselves. It can just be between us and God and we're fine. The problem with that, though, is that's only one part of our lives. We were created for each other. You and I need each other to help each other, to do life with one another. We only have one perspective when it's just us, right? But when we get together, when we share, when we eat, when we talk, it's amazing the things that can happen from those relationships. You and I, even from the very beginning of time, weren't created to do life alone. When God makes the first man in Genesis 2, here's what it says after that in 2:18. It says, the Lord said, it is not good for man to what? Be alone. It's not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for them. And ever since then, mankind has been working and doing life together. But there are parts that we still want to continue to isolate, to push people away, to create walls that keep others out. Because let's be honest, doing life with other people can get messy sometimes, can't it? We can hurt each other's feelings. We can let each other down. We can hurt each other. We can make each other feel awful. And when we've had those experiences, maybe from our past or our present, what we tell ourselves is, I don't want that in my future. And so we choose stay by ourselves, to keep quiet, to push other people away. And the problem is there are so many things that you could benefit from other people if you were to let them in, to give it another try. Just because that person hurts you doesn't mean that these people will. And I know that's hard for us to understand, and that's why today I wanted us to spend some time talking about this, because I feel like more than ever, groups are vital to our lives and to our faith. And if we could learn to not isolate, to allow ourselves to be open to more relationships in our lives, it's amazing to see how God could work and what God could do. We even see Jesus, the Son of God, right? He could do everything. Like, he could have it all in his hands, right? Yet he chose 12 knuckleheads to do life with, right? Why would he do that? He's the Son of God. He can do whatever he wants. He doesn't need these other people. But I think he spent his 3 years of ministry doing life with this group of people to give you and I the example of what our lives should look like as well. That maybe there are things that you can do by yourself and you're great at it, but there are things that could be even better if you were to let people in, if you were to stop pushing people out. And he gave us that example of doing life with people in circles, sharing meals together, hanging out together, having tough moments together, to show you and I that even the Son of God needs people. We were created to be in relationship with others. I even saw this week. I thought this was funny because I can be so relatable to this. I saw this meme posted. Nobody talks about Jesus' miracle of having 12 close friends in his 30s, right? I mean, and it's any age, isn't it? Having 12 close friends, like if you were just to name your top friends right now, to get to 12, that'd be pretty hard, wouldn't it? Because that's just not the way we work anymore. We go, we do, and it's all about our schedules and our things, and we're just like, we're so busy, we don't have time for other people. But the truth is, we don't make time for other people. If you and I see the value of importance for something, trust me, we make the time for it. And so let's figure out how Jesus performed this miracle of having people in his lives and how you and I can have that in our lives as well. And so here's what happens when we choose to do life not just in rows, but we choose for a moment to do life in circles. We choose to meet with people in a different way. We choose to gather around a table or at a coffee shop or at someone's home or even here at the church. And we decide that we're not just going to do life by ourselves, that we're going to surround ourselves with other people. What could this look like for you, and what could this look like for me if we chose to put this into practice? What does a circle or a small group really look like, and why are these designed for you? And we have a few core statements that we believe here at Atlee that showcase for us why this is necessary and why this is important to you. The first thing is that all of us need a place to know and be known. All of us need a place for somebody to know us and for us to be known by somebody. In a church like ours, it can be easy to sit in a row like this, listen to music and a message, and then head out on our way and forget about the other things that are important to us in our lives. It can be easy just to become another number here at Atlee instead of a name. And we say all the time that every name has a story and every story matters to God. And not only does it matter to God, it also matters to us. We want you to be known by people in this church. We want you to get to know people, for you to find somebody to be known by, for somebody to know your name. One of the things I've loved about small groups here at Atlee is seeing our groups sit beside each other here at church. You start to get to know each other, and it's not just about you sitting with you. You find other people that you like and that you get to hang out with and you get to know, and they know your name and you know their name, and it's not just coming to a building, it's coming to community. And that's what it's all about, a place to be known, and we want you to be known here. We want you to feel like that you matter to God here. And because of our small groups, that's the way in which we make it happen, for you to not just meet in a big room like this, but for you to really get to know people in a different way. And so that's the first way that you and I should care and know about what a small group is. The second thing is this, as a place to care and be cared for. a place to be cared and cared for. And that happens around a table or a circle like this. You get to care for other people, and other people get to care for you. Jeff and I and the staff, we can only care for so many of you. There's a lot of you that come to church here, and so to come visit you guys every day or to see all of you in the hospital or to check in on your kids, it's a lot for all of us. And while we do our best to do it, a lot of times we fall short because there's only but so much we can do. But if you get to meet in a circle around other people here, you get to hang out with them. They get to know your needs, know your kids, know why you're in the hospital. And some of the best small groups that I've seen are the ones where it's not just Jeff and I going to make the visits to the hospital. It's the ones that say, you know what, I got it. My small group was there for me. They prayed for me. They talked me through some of my deepest issues. We start to care for each other. It's not just the church staff, but it's us being the church. And did you know that you get to do that? Like you get the opportunity to be used by God to help other people, and then other people get to come help you. We get to care for one another. We get to build strong bonds and minister to each other. And all this can happen around a small group, doing life in circles together. Another thing that happens in a circle like this is a place to love and to be loved. A place to love and to be loved. We always say here at Atlee that you're in a safe place. And while we mean that when you come in the building here, we also mean that our small groups, our circles, are a safe place for you to share. There's a lot that happens in our lives on a daily basis, isn't there? And it's hard sometimes to find the right people to share that stuff with. The things that you're going through, the things that you're working through. And sometimes you're like, hey, Trey, you don't understand what I'm going through. You don't know what my life's been like. And let me be honest, I don't. I don't know all of your stories. I don't know what you're going through. I literally live in a bubble here at the church, all right? So I don't know all your stories. But guess what? There are people that are across the aisle here that know exactly what you're going through, that know how to help you, that know how to be there for you. They've walked through what you're walking through. And you all could be a support system for each other if you would just be willing to open up to allow people in your life. Another thing that's happened during this time is social media begins to tell us some false things about ourselves. If you are on Facebook or Instagram, you have friends or you have followers, and it'd be interesting. I want you to go home and see how many friends or followers that you have. Some of you have a lot, some of you got a little, but it doesn't matter because what happens when we see those things, it begins to give us the idea that we have these many people that love us. And really, do they really love us? I mean, most of the time they're just spying on you, right? They're just looking at all your family and wishing their family was as cool as your family, right? They don't care about you. They don't love you. They're just looking out, and they'll probably post something about your birthday until next birthday, right? That's just how those connections work. But we think because we're more connected than ever before that we're more healthy in our relationships than ever before. But the truth of the matter is we are more connected than we've ever been, but we're more lonely, we're more isolated than we've ever been before as a society. Because what happens is we think that these are real friendships, loving, caring, but they're not. But what happens is when you find these connections, where you do life together in circles, where you get to know real people who really care about you, you can be loved, and you can also show other people love. One of the greatest things that Jesus told us to do on this earth is to love God with all of our heart. And then what? To love our neighbors as ourselves. How can you fully love your neighbor if you've never had a chance to meet them? How can you fully embrace their life, get to know them, helping them if it's all about you? If you stay isolated, if you put up walls to others. And so in order for us to live love out like we talked about this summer, talking about what love really is, you and I really have to get to know each other. And like I said, I know sometimes it's messy. I know it's hard to let anybody in. But I'm telling you, when you do, you'll be surprised of how much you are loved and cared for and how much God could use you to love and care for somebody else. And then the last reason that these are so important to us and we think they're vital to your life is this, is everybody needs a place to celebrate and be celebrated. Everybody needs a place to be celebrated and to celebrate with others. Nobody wants to go through life not feeling celebrated, right? We go through so many things. Maybe you got a new baby, or you got a new job promotion, or something great happened in your life. But imagine picking up your phone and have nobody to call or share it with. I know there's some of us like that we have these great things that we would love to celebrate with others, but we don't have anybody to celebrate it with. But that's why we're here. That's what the church is all about. We want to celebrate with you. We want to go through life's greatest moments with you, and we also want to go through life's toughest sorrows with you as well. And what better way to do that than in a close, small group of people that care and know about you? There's nothing worse than having no one to share praises, birthdays, life wins, those who can encourage you. Paul tells us in the New Testament that the days are evil and we should find people to encourage us daily. Don't you think there's a lot that happens in a day in your life, good and bad, right? It is so good to find people to share those things with. And that's what small groups here at Atlee help facilitate, that you get to know people and people get to know you, and you get to feel celebrated, and you get to celebrate others in return. And so how do groups work? What does it look like to find this circle, this group of people, this place? How does that happen? It's pretty simple. Each one of you got a brochure when you came in today. It has all of our groups listed on it. There's some that meet online, some that meet here at the church in Mechanicsville or here at the church in Scottsville. There are some that meet in people's homes all throughout the place. There's a group for every single one of you. There's men's groups, women's groups, couples groups, crazy groups, whatever person you are, right? There is a group for you. And so my encouragement is find your group. Find your people, because there are people that are waiting to do life with you. And the great thing is we make it super easy for you to do these groups. They only run 8 weeks at a time. And so starting September 24th is when these groups will launch. You'll get to meet your group of people. You'll get to hang out to each other, meet each other, all that stuff. And then you hang out for 8 weeks at a time. And so at the end of the 8 weeks, if you're like, you know what, that wasn't the group for me, I didn't really connect with those people, you get to find another group and try it again. And that's okay. And don't feel like, some churches you feel like you signed up for one of these and you're in them for life, like till you die, right? Like you got to hang out with these weird people forever. Like that's not what we want you to experience here. We want you to find people. We know life gets busy. And so I believe all of us can do something for 8 weeks, right? That's not that bad. You can do something for 8 weeks. And so why not do something that could be a huge benefit to your life? I think you and I need people in our lives right now more than we care to admit. And so I want you to find that group of people for you. And so what does this look like? Why should you sign up for a small group? Why should these be important to you? I've asked myself that question, even as a church staff member. I know these things are important to us as a church, but for me, I want to know what does it look like for me in my life? Well, it was really cool when Kirsten and I, my wife, we moved to Mechanicsville back here a little over 3 years ago, and we were trying to find people to connect with. We moved from our hometown in Scottsville. Shout out Scottsville. You guys are awesome. But we moved there, and it was hard because all of our friends, our family, our neighbors, everybody was there. We knew everybody. And then we came here, and we didn't know people. We're starting to get to know people, and then this great thing called a pandemic hit, and it was like to stay at home. And so for me and my personality, I'm a people person. Tell me to stay at home and not hang out with anybody, you might as well just bury me now, right? Like that is no fun for my personality. I need people to thrive. And so we started thinking and talking. And so my wife and I, a few months later, after we were just like, hey, we just don't know anybody. We need to get to know people. We just started praying. And we said, God, would you please put the right people in our lives that we need during this season? We don't want to do life alone here. We really want to connect with a group of people. And so we started praying for the people that God will put in our life. And then finally, we decided to launch small groups, even though they were online during the pandemic. And my wife and I were like, okay, well, let's step up and let's lead a group. Let's just see what could happen. And it was incredible to see week after week as we met these people in our homes from our laptop. we started to get to know them. We started connecting with them. We started building some great friendships and people that we never knew we could connect with. And then now, several years later, some of these people have become our best friends, people that I never knew could be so close to me. And then I could share stuff with, and they could share stuff. We could help each other. We could help each other with our kids and our families and things that we just don't know how to go through right now. But they started to walk with us through one of our toughest seasons in our lives. And we started to walk with them in some of their tough seasons in life. And I'm telling you, I have never felt more loved, more cared for, more celebrated than I have with this group of people that we had the opportunity to connect with. And the reason I share that with you is because I believe with all of my heart that those people are out there for you as well. Yeah, you may feel lonely right now. You may feel broken. You may feel like nobody can understand. But the truth of the matter is there are people out there who do love you, who do care about you, and who do want to understand if you would give them the opportunity to. And what's cool is time and time again, when life gets busy, when we find ourselves making excuses like, we don't have time to lead a small group right now, or we don't have time to hang out with people, we got this going on, we got that going on. We got a gift from one of our friends in our small group, and it sits in our dining room. And it's simply this, and she gave this to my wife, and it says, "A sweet friendship refreshes the soul." And I remember my wife opening this, and she teared up, and I teared up, and we're like, why are we crying? It's just allergies. No, like, this means a lot. Like, this is crazy somebody could care about us like this, to give us this gift. And it sits in our dining room now as a reminder for us that whatever we're going through, whatever our souls may be struggling with, that the friendships that God wants to put in our lives and has put in our lives will constantly refresh our souls. When life starts to happen and you don't understand what's going on and you need help, friendships God gives us to restore and refresh our soul. And so this is a reminder for me to stop making excuses. This is a reminder for me that I do need people. This is a reminder for me to put my pride aside. This is a reminder for me to make margin in my schedule because friendships matter. They matter to God because He wants to give them to us. And they should matter to us because of the benefit that we have and see in our lives. Now, I don't want this just to be all about small groups here at Atlee. While I believe in them and love them and think there's a group for each and every one of you, and I want you to sign up for them, that's not just what it's about. I want you to leave here with the connections and friendships that I've made over the last 3 years to have in your life and in your faith as well. And say you already have those in your life. Maybe God has given you some great friends, some great people, some great family. A lot of times what I've noticed is we stop being thankful for those things. We just take them for granted all the time. And so my encouragement to you today is take out your cell phone, your email, write them, do whatever you need to do, meet them for lunch later this week. And I want you to tell them how important they are to you. Thank them for being in your life. Thank you for the friendship that you've provided for me. Thanks for doing life with me. Thanks for helping me feel like I'm not alone. And I know for all of us, if you have those people, you know how much they mean to you, but you rarely tell them. And so tell them this week. Spend a moment and share with them and tell them what their friendship has meant to you over the years. And I promise you, the encouragement that we'll give to them and the reminder that it will give to you will be invaluable for you to realize the people that God has put in your life for a specific reason. And so today, may we celebrate friendships. May we be thankful for God for what He's done. And if there's anything I want you to know about church here at Atlee and you being involved here and you attending here and you connecting to a group is this, is that church is a great place to attend. It's a great place to attend, promise you. But I promise you that it's even better place to belong. To belong. You and I have a place here to belong. Just like Jeff made you all say, you belong here, because you do. You belong here. I hope that this is not only just your church home, but this becomes your church family. that you find great friendships and family here, that you connect with people that maybe you never thought you could connect with, and that you really do find a sense of belonging here, and that you do connect with God and connect with others. And I hope over the next few weeks as we talk more into this and we dive into this, that you really do find more and more connections. And so if you want to sign up for a small group, if that is something of interest to you, you've never tried it before, or if you have tried it, maybe it's been a long time, take a look at that brochure we gave you this morning. In there's all the groups you can sign up for and a QR code you can scan on your phone and sign up directly. Or you'll see these tables in the back that say small groups. There's some of our leaders back there. If you have questions about groups or you want to sign up manually, they will help you do that. And they also will put you in contact with me if you have any questions about groups. I can help answer those for you as well. But please know, please leave here. Find some place to connect and belong. Don't just attend. Find some way to connect and belong. And so let me encourage you today as we leave here to find these friendships. And just like my wife and I, when we prayed, I want to pray for you today that you find these people in your life as well. And so let's go ahead and stand up wherever we're at. And I just want an opportunity to pray for you as you leave here today that if you don't have those friendships, that God will bring those to you. And if you have yet to sign up for a small group or ever hesitated about joining one or believing in one, that you would be open to it today to find people to really do life with. And so let's pray together and ask God to be with us and our families as we leave here today. Jesus, I thank you so much for this church. God, a sense that we get to belong somewhere. God, what a gift that is. God, I personally want to thank you for the friendships and the groups that you've put in my life and in my family, God, to help me through some of life's toughest things and through life's greatest joys. But God, I know that there's so many people in here today that are facing so many things in life and circumstances. And God, I pray for them today that they would find the people they need to do life with. God, whether that's a small group here at Atlee or a neighbor across the street or a friend they haven't reached out to in a long time, God, I just pray that we would value our friendships that you've given us and that, God, you would help us connect to you and connect to each other better. We love you, we praise you, and we thank you so much for allowing us to be here today. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.